Hey guys, so I am helping you guys get organized for the new year, and I want to show you how I keep my weekly and monthly calendar. So this is how I keep it. I got this cork board for just a couple pounds at Tesco, which is kind of like the UK's version of Target, and I think it came with these, but they're just super thin. It might not have come with these. I might have gotten them separate. But they're just super thin dry erase markers. And then I printed off a calendar and laminated it. And I just did two. So this is where I keep like my weekly and monthly stuff for the current month. And then for the future month, I just write down monthly things, so just the things that are special about that month, and then I'll transfer them up here. So I'm gonna show you guys what I do. I'm sorry, Michael, do you mind getting me a couple of paper towels? Sorry, I forgot to get paper towels. So I am just going to, oops, thank you, dear. So I am just going to I'm going to try and leave it up here. Normally I would take this off to do this part, but I'm going to leave it up here so you guys can see what I'm doing. And actually, what I use, because this doesn't really come off, I'll show you. This doesn't really come off at all when I wipe it dry, just because it's laminated, it's not actually dry erase. So I use hand sanitizer. And it does take just a little bit of time, but I'm going to get it off. So I'm just going to put, this bottle's almost empty. So I'm just going to put it on there and wipe it, and you see it just starts immediately. It starts coming off. And of course I decorated December's, and so this is just easier for me to do down here. But it does take a little bit to get it off, so that is pretty much done. There are a little bit of like pieces down here, but they don't contribute to the whole of it. So there's my clean slate. So then I'm just going to write, see if I can do it up here so you guys can see. So I'm just going to write January at the top, because I'm doing this month's. And then I'm going to just number the days. I'm not going to take the time to do all of that here, but I'll just number the days all the way through 31, which will be this day. And then the next thing I do is I go through and I'll put all the stuff that's in black. This is just how I do it. So for black, I use the things that either apply to both Michael and I or us as a family. So, for example, every Thursday night here at our house, we have a community meal, which means everybody in the house is here, but also everybody in our whole organization and all of their families come as well. So in some cases, we just have a husband that works with us, but his wife and children don't, but they come for the community meal. And so it's just a nice family time, but we do that on Thursdays. So I'm going to write community meal. On all the Thursdays. And then I know that on the 14th we have a team day, and so I'm going to write that on the 14th. And this one doesn't really apply to us as a family specifically because it's not for us, but it is relevant to us. We are working with some trainees and they are leaving on outreach. Well, I don't actually know the date, but the planned date was the 9th, and so I'll write that down so that I know okay, somewhere around here they're leaving. I don't know what they booked their tickets for, but that was the plan. And so I'm just gonna put that they are leaving. And that is about it that we know of for next month, because we don't have our full schedule for January yet, or for this month. We don't have our full schedule for January yet because we don't really officially start back yet, and so probably by the time this video gets posted we will have, but when I'm recording it we haven't started back yet. So next thing I'm going to do is in green, I do all the things that we do for our son. So just specific weekly things that get done. So for example, on Mondays and Thursdays, I give him a bath. So I'm going to put that on here. Bath. And I'll just write it all the way down. Bath, 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 bath. And then I'll do that on Mondays. And then on Fridays, this is going to sound so silly, but if I don't write it down, then I will forget. On Fridays, I clip his nails. So I will write that here. Clip nails. Just write that all the way down. So you get the idea. Other things we do: on Mondays I hoover, on Tuesdays I do laundry, and then every other week, for those of you in the States, hoover is vacuum. That's the term for it here in the UK. So on Mondays I vacuum or I hoover. On Tuesdays I do laundry. I am going to do a video for you guys soon telling you how I only do laundry one day a week. Just so that you guys can maybe have a tip for those of you that stay at home, work from home, or stay at home moms. You don't have to be doing laundry all the time. It is possible. So, and even, others of you, if you have just one day in the week off or something, you can just do that. But that would be, I think, a little bit more difficult because you do have other chores you need to do on that day as well. But on Tuesdays I do laundry. The thing about Tuesdays, though, is every other Tuesday I do house laundry. So in addition to our clothes, I wash our towels and our sheets, of the bedding and everything, blankets and all of that, baby blankets and stuff. So every other day on the Tuesday I will do laundry, house laundry, laundry, house laundry, that kind of thing. So there we go, and I just would go take that down. One thing I forgot to put in here on monthly is one day a month I clean the washing machine because we do cloth diapers or cloth nappies. The washing machine does need to be cleaned in order to keep it from oversudsing, and so I clean the washer once a month, not once a week. And I usually do that on either a Monday or a Tuesday, depending on how it goes. So I didn't do that in December because we haven't been doing cloth nappies. It's kind of been a long story, but we haven't been doing them for a while. So I will probably schedule to do that at the beginning of the month. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on here. And in case I didn't say, red is things that I do. So the green is what things that we need to do for Daniel, and then red is what I do. So the next thing I'm going to do is on Wednesdays, we do letters. So we write letters once a month to the people that support our family. And on Wednesdays, I work on those. So instead of doing them all in one day, I do just a little bit at a time. So on Wednesdays, I'll put letters. And then the other thing I do on Wednesdays is I clean our diffusers. So I'll put that on here. And then one of our monthly things, these kind of got a little confused, didn't they? One of our monthly things is we do support renewals. So those people who have been supporting us for a year, in case you're jumping in later or something, our family are missionaries in the UK. And so we have people who support us monthly. And so people who have been supporting us monthly for a year, we send them an email just to see if they want to continue supporting us. So I call that support renewals, and I do that once a month. And so I'll put that here. And then I also dust on Thursdays. So I will write that. Dust and wipe is what I call it. And then on Fridays, I do finances. So just to keep up with our monthly finances, I do just the weekly things, just catch up, inputting whatever expenditures we had that week on Fridays. So just to simplify things, I just call that finances. And that is my week. And then for the blue, that's my husband. And so he works full time. And so he doesn't have a lot of things on here. But on Mondays, he does write a prayer email that we send to our prayer team. And so I'll put that on here. And then once a month, he writes a newsletter for our family to send to our supporters. And he also helps with monthly finances. So I'll put that on here for him. And then each Friday, he does receipts. So he handles inputting receipts into one of the softwares that we use for that. And so that's on Friday. And then we have a couple other things on here. Doctor's appointments for our son and things like that. And baby shower that I'm going to at the end of January. So all of those things will go on January's calendar. And then as they happen, I just use my black marker and I just check next to them the things that got done. And then if everything gets done for that day, then I put a line, and the day is completed, then I put a line, just a diagonal line, like just right through the day, so that I know that I don't need to look at those things anymore. And then if like there's a day that's passed already, but it's still not marked through, then I know that there's something that didn't get done. And that happens, and that's okay. You know, when you've got children or a child and work and life, things just don't always get done on time or on the right day, and that's okay. You want to set a plan, a realistic plan, but also understand that it doesn't always happen, and that's okay. So, kind of the way that I do it is, for example, if I don't dust one week, if I'm not able to that Thursday, if I'm not able to dust, then the following week when it's time to hoover on Monday, instead of hoovering, I'll dust. And if I have time to dust and hoover, then that's fine. And if not, then I'll dust on the Monday, and then on the Thursday, since I've already dusted, I'll hoover. Excuse me. And that way I at least make sure that if something doesn't get done in 1 week, it gets done the next week, so it doesn't get to go too long, because I'm the kind of person that if it collects too much, then I just won't do it. And so for me, that means I just need to do it regularly so that it's not such a daunting task. And so that's how I manage house chores, getting things done around the house. Yeah, so that's really, and then there's a little notes section, and so like down here I just have like some things that I want to do in the new year, some personal goals, or just things that I want to, or need to do, things that, you know, what I know that need to be done in that month or that year or whatever. So I'll write those things down. But if you have any questions about this, about how I do this, or the supplies or anything like that, just let me know, and I hope this is helpful for you guys in getting organized in 2019.